one thing about Dubai that really stands out. It's the safety. It is so powerful in a world that is quickly becoming unpredictable. You can't achieve anything without support. You can't achieve anything without community.
Connection truly is the new luxury.
You know, there are these communities that come up that are quite self-sufficient, where you have a nursery within the community, you have, you know, your grocery store, you have your clinic, you have all of that really right there. And you have the opportunity to create a network within the community.
That was the plan.
Yeah.
It's been 10 years now.
You can't leave this place once you move in. What is wonderful is I'm able to do little sub-communities based on nationality. And you don't get that anywhere else. You can achieve nothing without people in your corner. And if those people are the people who live next to you and that you can walk to, wow, that is some real beauty in that.
Welcome to Sobha The Living Room, the podcast where we bring the world of real estate to you. I'm your host, Nimi Mehta, and on today's episode we are joined by Kavita Srinivasan, the former editor-in-chief of Cosmopolitan, Middle East and Hello magazine. In her quest to help people connect and heal from their pain, Kavita studied under Dr. Shefali Tabari to become a certified parenting coach, completed her master's in holistic psychology, and now is pursuing her PhD in trauma and adverse childhood experiences. Kavita is now trauma counselor, parenting coach, and a passionate community builder, as well as the founder of the Raising Hearts community, where she focuses on emotional connection over everything. Through her work, Kavita is reshaping how communities grow from the inside out. Today, she joins us to explore how empathy and intentionality are driving a new era of collective healing.
Thank you so much, Nimi.
It's such an honor to have you here. Your energy is also wonderful and calming.
Thank you.
You know, I really want to get into your expertise here today, but also want to understand your story as well and what brought you to do what you do today. So if you could please introduce yourself and give us a bit of a background as to who you are and your experience and journey so far.
Well, so as of like 10 years ago, I was in a wholly different space. So I was in publishing. I was the editor-in-chief of Cosmopolitan Middle East and Hello, and I did Masala before that. And I thought I was in a great place in my life, that I was winning at life. And I got pregnant, and I absolutely love children. And I was so excited to have a child of my own. And but when I had my son, I literally went from 100 to 0 in a second. I could not be around him. I had panic attacks. I was scared to be in a room alone with him. And I had no idea what was going on because I love kids, you know. And I sought help. I didn't get any answers. And I was 39, almost 40, when I met Dr. Shefali Tabari, who is, you know, a very well-known psychologist and a parenting expert. And I interviewed her for Cosmopolitan, and I asked her, why is it that my son is 3 years old and I can't, and I'm not okay? You know, I have postpartum distress. And she was like, Kavita, you can't give what you did not get. And 40 is a magical age, Nimi. When you reach 40, you may have heard what you've heard like 1,000 times before, but something changes at 40. And her words really dug deep. It opened up something within me. I resigned from my job, and I realized, you know, I grew up with a mentally unwell mother, and I took care of her all my life, ever since I can remember. At the age of 5, 4, 3, 2, 8, 9, you know, when she was sick at night, I would take care of her. I would help her with her screams and her nightmares. I mean, it's just, and so every time my son cried, it brought that up within me. And I was determined to be a mother. So I quit my job. It was very hard to walk away because you identify with what you do so much. And I took a year off. I studied under Dr. Shefali. I found the right healer. And then I applied for my master's. And now I'm in the process of doing my PhD in trauma therapy. And I work with parents and children, but I believe that we are our first children. So I work in trauma and I help parents and children because, you don't know why you live the life that you do. And none of us are victims. We're all here to serve humanity. And so as you heal from your own wounds, you know how to give back. And I'm really grateful to be able to do that.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I think that gives us a good understanding as to how important, that human connection is, how important having the right people around you is to help you throughout this journey that we call life. And that being said, community being such a powerful form of elevation for so many of us. Community, connection, belonging. Talk to me first about why community matters. I feel like we all know it in the back of our heads, but it's a very nice reminder to have.
Yeah. We're mammals. We're meant to live in a village. If you look at a lion, you look at an elephant, and look at any mammal around you, they live in groups. One person is not responsible for everything. Human beings are living very, very unnatural lives. Our modern lives do not suit our biology. Community literally is the essence of our being. It's our DNA. And, people talk about, giving parenting advice and you need to do this and you need to do that. You can't achieve anything without support. You can't achieve anything without community, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it is literally everything. Without community, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
You can't do anything.
Look, here in Dubai, how long have you been here in the UAE?
I've been here for 16 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay. So
time.
you've seen Dubai and the UAE in general through a lot of its phases and to where it's at today. How would you say community has shifted in the way that it's not just instilled in the culture, but also potentially, even external influences, more and more different demographics coming into the country, how it's changed and shifted over time?
What I see happening, which I'm really happy about, is it's becoming less of a transient society. It's very tough because in the early years, people would come and then people would go. It was such a up and down sort of situation. But what I've seen it evolve into now is, there are these communities that come up that are quite self-sufficient, where you have a nursery within the community, you have, your grocery store, you have your clinic, you have all of that really right there. And you have the opportunity to create a network within the community. I see that happening and that's wonderful. And some of the work that I'm doing right now is I've started a free parenting community and I'm actually working on creating little sub-communities based on where you live. So for example, if you live in Sobha, wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to connect people of the same age group and, build it in a way where people walk in and out of each other's homes and you have that sort of like safe nest that a village can thrive in.
It's so important to look at it that way because a lot of the time, the people that are moving here or making these big decisions are grown adults who are hoping they're out of the friend-making stage of their life.
Yes.
I made my friends when I was younger, I'm set for life. But the reality of that is very much changing. Yeah. And specifically here in Dubai, I mean, such an opportunity for people to connect, network, not just for, your personal development, but professional too.
Yeah.
Is that long gone, the solo mindset of just coming over here, working and just head down, the hustle? Now people are, their heads lifted up a bit. They're looking around. They're connecting around them. You can feel that in the energy here.
Yes, and I really, really am glad because as the world progresses and we see AI and the digital world becoming such a medium of connection, I see people craving that human touch.
Yeah.
The more and more it is normalized to not meet, the more people want to meet. The more and more it's normalized to not connect with each other. And, like you're on Zoom all the time.
Yeah.
The connection factor has become really paramount, which I think is wonderful, And I see that a lot with parents, with children, with families, people are hungry to meet each other and to really like have that I don't know, compassion and empathy with people who are going through the same things that you're going through. It's really at the forefront now.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say specifically, I feel like COVID is always a reference point to so many of us as a period of time. But after COVID, I think there was an absolute mindset shift on how important it is, the infrastructure around you, where you live, who you're around, the space in which you're at, the lifestyle that is provided in where you're living. During that time, I was staying in a Sobha community, and you could really feel people come together. You could feel the pull together, people going out onto their balconies to, clap in the evening for all of the frontline workers. Yeah. You could feel, for once, the community coming together. How important is that in a decision or choice people make in the community that they live in, that they choose to move into, whether that's as an individual, working professional, or whether that's with family, whether that's with children? Where do you think that mindset has shifted, and how important is it in this day and age?
Well, the home became very important. Like your home became very important. Suddenly, I mean, COVID had its negatives. There's been so much pain. But I think one of the ways in which the world changed, which I feel it needed to, is to make the home the center of your life again. So where you live, who you're surrounded with, how much time you spend in your home, who do you invite into your home, and also relationships, right? Yeah. Who do you choose to spend time with? Who do you want to spend time with? And I feel like a lot of people got very close during COVID. Like there were little mini bubbles that came up. And very much so with the people who are your neighbors, who you wouldn't ordinarily take the time to speak with. And now you realize that these neighbors are so important.
Yeah.
Really, I wouldn't make the effort to get to know my neighbors, but now I make an effort, because you realize that this bubble that you live in could be your world, and it's a safe space where you don't have to really leave your nest.
Yeah.
And your nest expands to include the people who live around you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really beautiful way in which our attention and perspective has shifted.
And on that, I think the people first design is very important.
Yes.
When I say that, I mean that these intentional spaces that are now being created all over Dubai. You had mentioned earlier, there is now nurseries in your space. Yes. There is your favorite places to eat. There's your grocery store. You really don't have to leave.
Yeah.
And I think for anybody listening right now who maybe potentially has never even lived in Dubai and the UAE, and it seems like this far off dream, the reality is it really is what people say it is. Myself and Kavita are living proof of that, but also secondly, what are the pluses when it comes to the personal development side of things? Living here in Dubai, moving here to Dubai, that kind of space that you're in, what it really adds value to you as an individual.
I used to live in New York, and I was in my 20s, and then when I used to visit Dubai a lot, because my friend lives here, and what I love about Dubai, which has not changed despite it growing, despite so many people moving here, is that element of safety. There are many metropolitan cities in the world where you can have great careers, you can thrive, you can start a business. Of course, Dubai does that really well, right? But what I find really special about Dubai, if you had to tell me what is the one thing about Dubai that really stands out, it's the safety. It is so powerful in a world that is quickly becoming unpredictable. There is this safety element here, which is wonderful. And the country, the government, the policies, they really go out of their way to make you feel like you are in a safe place. There is no place in the world that I would let my child go to a shop and check out something on his own. No place. I was sitting in a cafe the other day with a friend, and I said, and he was like, can I go check out that book? And I was like, yeah, go take a look and come back. There is no other place in the world I would do that.
Yeah.
And it's really powerful. I mean, it's great to move here when at any stage in your life, but especially if you have children
Yeah.
and you're thinking of like, I don't know, having a family. For me, like having children here is incredible. It's so safe. There's not so many negative influences. Uh, there's a great system that's constructed for children. It's beautiful. It's a very beautifully family oriented, safe space. And even these communities that you speak about, it's very well thought out, for children and what do they need and what do families need, for convenience. The convenience element is so paramount here. It's wonderful. Like, it's easy. Like, things are not difficult.
Yeah.
And, when you have so many things going on, when you have work, when you have family, when you have, you're juggling so many things and things are easy in the way they should be, to me, that is what makes Dubai so special.
Yeah, you're so right. And as you were speaking, I was thinking of the experience that I had growing up in the UK, and because of that safety element, essentially being, kind of cotton wool wrapped around me, and you're in a little bubble because you want to stay safe.
Yeah.
But here I would say that children, and this is definitely your forte and your expertise, they're exposed to a lot more here. Not just people in terms of different backgrounds, different cultures, exposed to that, but that comfortability and building that confidence to be able to go to a shop and ask for something without their parents being around. And for anybody listening who does have a family or is looking to move over to Dubai with their family, what would you say to them in terms of the specific effects it does have on your child to live here in Dubai?
I've heard this. I mean, there's a couple of myths that I want to bust. People say, your children have to learn to rough it out in the beginning and they have to learn to be in the real world. And, this is a bubble. But I will tell you, as somebody who does psychology for a living, that independence comes from dependence. And true freedom comes from feeling safe in your body. Okay? And so when a child lives in an environment where they're vigilant, hyper vigilant at all times, and they sense that their parents are hyper vigilant at all times and stressed, there is an intrinsic fight, flight, freeze mechanism that is embedded within you. It has nothing to do with your family, and it has to do with your environment, the cultural context in which you grow up. Okay? So when you live in an environment, and I correct people all the time, and they're like, well, but this is not the real world. Dubai is a bubble, and I want them to be comfortable in the real world. And I'm like, you know what? You will be doing your child a huge service by raising them in an environment where their parents are not hyper vigilant, where they are not hyper vigilant. Their baseline nervous system is safety.
Yeah.
And the brain can only learn, and the body can only develop, and the central nervous system can only flourish when you're not in fight, flight, or freeze. Because when you're in fight, flight, or freeze, every other part of the brain shuts down. It's like being in a jungle, right?
Yeah.
When you're faced with a tiger, the entire body shuts down, every other part shuts down, and all the energy goes into pumping adrenaline and cortisol into your body so you can run. So you don't have to think, you don't have to learn, you're just moving. And that's a wonderful biological imperative in our body.
Yeah.
If in fact there is a tiger, but imagine if you're always around a threatening animal.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think that is the biggest and most beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
Where your child feels safe growing up, the baseline nervous system is safe, and children really benefit from learning, feeling free, going to that shop and, getting what they want, riding the bike down the road and not being scared of something negative happening, running around the neighborhood barefoot, and not feeling like somebody may, take your child away or something negative could happen. And I think to me that is freedom. Children learn an intrinsic freedom and safety in their body, and that carries you into adulthood.
Yeah.
And it really serves you well as you grow up.
It really does, because as you're speaking, I remember I had read an article actually about the difference. They did a study on people with their nervous system here in the UAE versus other capitals of the world. And it just proved that although we are just as hardworking, although there is such a hustle culture here in Dubai, and there's, millions of entrepreneurs now, but naturally we get to actually put our energy into the things that matter instead of looking over our shoulder all the time, wondering if somebody's behind us. You know, a lot of us still leave our doors unlocked because
Yes.
of the safety we feel
Yeah.
here in Dubai. And that makes miles of a difference, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah.
And I think that that is worth speaking about more and more in conversations and in languages. We have a lot of international investors who are always looking to move to Dubai and potentially always look to move their businesses here even. You know, we have so many global companies opening up their headquarters here in Dubai because of the economy here and the growth. But on the other side, we speak about the emotional investment,
Yes.
not just the monetary.
Yeah.
And the emotional investment is also why people stay.
Yes.
It's one thing moving over here.
Yeah.
And as you said, it used to be a transient space.
Yeah.
1 or 2 years, I'm going to make my money, I'm going to leave. Now you talk to people, they're like, yeah, that was the plan.
Yeah.
It's been 10 years now.
You can't leave this place once you move in.
You
I'm
can't.
really being honest. You can't live anywhere else, really, the way you live here.
You can't.
You can't.
And I'd like to say we're spoiled, but it's also something that a lot of people work incredibly hard to stay here for.
Yes.
So I think that's also worth mentioning. Look, I also want to delve into your real stories
Yes.
of and your experiences of also living here, because you are also a mother and having a family, raising your family here. You must have some wonderful stories as to, you know, finding common ground with your community, finding and connecting with people that maybe if you were anybody else or anywhere else in the world, you would never have experienced.
You know, I think one of the most amazing things is the international population. That's a really big part of it.
Yeah.
You don't get that in a lot of places. You really don't, not to this extent.
Yeah.
And so I just recently, you know, I've been doing this for a few years now, and I just recently started a free parenting community. And the wonderful thing about, you know, it's just a WhatsApp community, and I do a lot of like workshops and stuff, and help the parents based on what they're going through. But what is wonderful is I'm able to do little sub communities based on nationality. And you don't get that anywhere else. How many places would you have like enough people that you could have a little Italian bucket, or like a, you know, a little Danish bucket, or a little, I don't know, French bucket.
Yeah.
You know, and also people from different backgrounds. You know, there are people who are into like the Steiner methodology of education. There are people who are, you know, of course, more traditional. So there's every kind of person here. And it's not like the population is so large.
Yeah.
It's quite a small population relatively, but there's enough variety within the population that you can find like commonality. And I've been here for a while now, and honestly, I think that is the one thing that I find really lovely, that you can always find people who think the same way that you do. And you don't ordinarily find that in other places.
Yeah.
And to me, it's quite rare. Like if you have a population of just a couple of million, a few million people, it's rare to find so much variety, you know, that you can find anyone that you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that when we're speaking about that variety and what is kind of accessible to so many of us with different interests, different hobbies, I think we should definitely point out that there's a huge increase and awareness over the last few years of wellness and health.
Yes.
That has been a priority to so many individuals, regardless of background and culture.
Yeah.
And communities, living spaces here in Dubai have also realized that.
Yes.
You know, inbuilt facilities that are accessible to all, from gyms, yoga spaces, parks, cafes, whatever it is, there is something for everybody. Talk to me about how important that is, and any particular personal experiences that you've had within your communities that you've witnessed that has, you know, stuck with you and been like, this is brilliant.
Well, I live in Jumeirah, and it's by the ocean.
Yeah.
So to me, when people say that, I'm like, it's really important to be near water, you know, to have nature around you.
Yeah.
And I see that happening a lot within communities where people are planting a lot of trees, and there's a water body in every community, and you know, where there's that ability for children to be around greenery and water and nature and hear the birds chirping. I think that is wellness, right? To be able to be barefoot and to be free. I mean, I love the gyms and I love the yoga studios. That's great. But for me, the fact that now you're creating places that have these elements where children can be on real grass, and you can climb a tree and you can swing on a swing, or like climb things and swim in like water bodies that feel large and not constrained. I love that. I feel like that's wonderful. And I'm seeing it in every community now.
Yeah.
That there is this water body, nature, tree, park, barefoot, running around, bike, track, investment.
Yeah.
Even the entire city. If you see like all over Jumeirah, and you can just bike across the entire city now.
Yeah. It really is that you have something here for everybody.
Yes.
You have your nature lovers, you have your ocean lovers. And I mean, Sobha Reserve was actually a huge showcase of that. The nature,
it was
the greenery, the want, and you could see that's what people want.
Yes.
I feel that you can see the Burj Khalifa 10 minutes from where we are today, but you're still surrounded by greenery.
And how wonderful is that?
It's the perfect balance. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. Again, busting myths on the theme.
Yes, busting myths.
They come over here, they're like, oh, it's a concrete jungle. It really isn't. There's something here for everyone.
There is. And I tell people, I'm like, do you know how lucky you are that you live in a place that has such a beautiful, clean ocean? And most of the oxygen in this world comes from the ocean.
Yeah.
So yes, trees are one, but the ocean, that has charged the air with so much energy. And now there is more and more of a emphasis on making sure there's greenery and sustainability across the board over here. And yes, it's a concrete jungle, but also it has these beautiful pockets where people can feel like they're not in a concrete jungle at all.
Yeah.
So that's just really special to me,
I think what's important to also, point out is you mentioned it, sustainability. So many families, individuals, that is very much a top priority, when it comes to choosing a community that they want to live in, where they want to be, where they want to create their home, where they want to raise their family. That sustainability element, have you seen, or are you surrounded by in your community an importance on that, very healthy conversations on that, and how important it is also for future generations?
I think there would need to be more happening towards that, but I do see a trend in the right direction.
Yeah.
I do see the beach cleanups, and, I personally see a lot of people composting now, and, there is a recycling. There are lots of, startups that do recycling. They come to your home and pick up your recycling and make it easy for you. There's a privatization around that. The government has encouraged companies like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've heard of so many initiatives about, building the coral reef and, really helping the ocean thrive.
Yeah.
Listen, we have to do more.
Yeah.
We have to do more and more and more. And I'm seeing it move in the right direction, but I'm quite an extremist. I just want it to change now.
Yeah, overnight.
I just want it to all go now. No plastic bags, no plastic toys, but I'm hoping that it is, the awareness is there and we're moving in that direction. And I see more and more families leaning towards that.
Absolutely. I mean, considering the fact that we're a very young country, I feel like the pace in which we move in every element is just phenomenal.
Yeah, we forget how young this place is.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that is quite an important topic, because one thing I do want to talk to you about, we spoke about the concrete jungle and the misconception of what Dubai and the UAE is. But also there is a part of slow living here, conscious living that isn't spoken about enough.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, we have entrepreneurs here, we have hustlers here, we have people who are working incredibly hard. But there's also now a shift to which people are slowing down.
Yes.
They're understanding how important that is to do so for their well-being, for their mental health as well. Talk to me about that conscious living and what that actually means.
Nimi, it's so funny. I have people visiting me and they're like, this is Dubai? And I'm like, yeah, this is Dubai. The life that I live in Dubai is extraordinarily slow. And you can live that life here. In fact, what you do have here, which I think is really wonderful, which I think the heart of the society, I mean, which is what makes families so happy here, is you have good, affordable help who come and they stay with you, and there's like policies around that where you can trust them, and there's a rapport that you build up, and so you're allowed to have this like spontaneous life where you have trustworthy care for your children and for your families. And I don't know, you're able to live this life where you're actually not running helter-skelter in the home. You have that support system. And even if you don't choose to have someone full-time, there's lovely cleaning agencies and part-time help. So you are not alone, really.
No.
So parents can actually sit down and sip a cup of tea without needing to do every single thing for their children.
Yeah.
And that's incredible, right? It's a village you can trust. When you talk about community,
Yes.
this community of people that support society and families, that allow you to slow down in a way that I haven't seen in most other cities.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. There is an element of slowness within the hustle.
Yes.
Because you can pause, you can sit, you don't have to do everything. And that's wonderful.
It's that intentional choice that so many of us have to consciously make day in, day out. And by no means is it perfect. It's just sometimes creating a balance every single day to make it work. And I think that's really, really important. One thing that we had spoken about just before we hit record today for the podcast episode was tech. And so I'm taking you from slow living all the way through to tech, which is the fastest moving industry right now.
Makes me so nervous.
But that being said,
Yes.
what we had spoken about was that, and you very rightly said, was that the world now, the economy, the way communities are shifting is having to intertwine with technology in the way AI is moving, rather than fighting it and resisting it. What are your thoughts on it?
You really want to know my thoughts?
Please.
Okay. They're a bit radical.
Go on.
I always say, and I will touch upon what we spoke about, because I do believe in that strongly.
Yeah.
But before I get there, I wrote about something recently where I said, in this world where AI is going to replace most things, we need to hold on more and more to what makes us human. And so emotional regulation and our emotional creative world is everything. So I want to actually dial it back and make sure that our children and us do what makes us human.
Yeah.
And that is our emotional world, and be able to make space for that. To create a that's why I say that when you have these parks with nature and slowing down, we need to spend more and more time not with technology. For us to actually master technology, we need to spend more and more time not with technology, because that's when our brains can flourish, when we can actually reconnect with ourselves. So we drive the creative process, as opposed to very soon them driving us. More and more I see people just typing everything into ChatGPT and not really thinking and learning things through. And there is so much to be said about developing the patience to not have information immediately, to work hard, to not have things given to us so fast. One of the things I'm working with quite closely now is ADHD. And 1/3 of the population has ADHD at this point, because everything is so fast. You get things so fast. Attention spans are shorter. So more and more, we need to slow down and spend time away from that immediate source of information for us to actually master that information. So that's one. So that's a way I feel like we need to distance ourselves from technology, because we are losing the power of the human brain. Which is beyond anything else. The power of creativity, which is beyond anything else. And we underestimate our power and creativity. And creativity is not just how well are you painting or how well are you writing. Creativity is a way for us to regulate ourselves. For our own mental well-being, our emotional well-being, we need a creative outlet.
Yes.
Otherwise we will suffer.
Yeah.
So that's one. But why do I think technology is beautiful and powerful as well is exactly what you and I spoke about. That we think that it's distancing ourselves from each other, but in many ways it's bringing us closer together because you can go home to London for 3 months over the summer.
Yeah.
Because why? Because you can work remotely, because communication is at your fingertips. You can speak to people virtually. And so you can spend more time with your family.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend only 2 weeks with your family a year or 3 weeks. You're spending 3 months and then maybe the winter. Who knows?
Yeah.
It brings people closer together. So there's this wonderful balancing act where you use technology for its gifts, but you don't lose track of what makes us sane and emotionally regulated, intelligent beings, which no robot will ever be able to, replicate.
No,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
And so well said. And I think that that's really, a reality that a lot of us need to think about. Instead of
Yes.
just going with the trends and going with what everybody else is going with, taking our time again to slow down, be
Yeah.
intentional with our choices as well.
And working hard, Nimi. You and I grew up, working
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
You don't get things immediately. You want to do your research, go to a library, read a book and find the information. Don't just type it into a computer. And people say it makes you more efficient, and I do agree.
Yeah.
That's great. But I think with children as they grow up, they need to be taught how to not get things immediately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as you master AI, also master the old way of doing things, because that's something that is irreplaceable.
I wanna bring it back to community. Now, there's a
Yes.
statistic here in this year alone, 2025, over 60% of new developments in Dubai are incorporating wellness and community zones as core planning features. I think that is phenomenal. It's telling us, in which direction that community living, home living is really going, conscious living is going. Do you have any gaps right now where you think, I would like this to happen in the future when it comes to more intimate or integrated living communities? Is there something that you have your eye on or your mind on, or this would be nice? Or do you just think it's going in the right direction that really is allowing community to come together?
I'm so glad you asked that, because I think that infrastructure wise, everything is moving in the right direction. But, the more and more people I work with, I realize that everybody wants to connect, but there's no connector. So what would be lovely in each community is to have this connector. Somebody who creates communities within that community, where you have like weekly meetups, and you have like somebody who creates play dates and creates that connection, like a place where everybody can gather every week. And, and there's somebody moderating it, and somebody trying to bringing people together, and so working to actually open those doors of the homes that infrastructure wise are built beautifully to be able to lean towards each other, but there is an awkwardness in approaching each other. There's an awkwardness in connecting, and it would be nice to have like somebody moderating that.
Yeah. And I think that's a fair ask.
Yes.
And I feel like it really is moving that way. Instead of just walking past your neighbor and saying hi and then running back into your home, we want to be able to take it one step further and create
a community center, for example.
Yeah. And that is a really good point. I mean, a lot of communities now are opening clubhouses.
Yes.
And allowing spaces for residents to come along and meet one another very casually and not very formally. Because I think that's quite intimidating sometimes.
Yes, but it would be nice to have someone moderating that. Because when it's too casual also, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But if you actually have like a system, then it becomes really lovely for people to connect as like a introductory thing.
Yeah.
I
think that's fair to say. We take it more seriously.
Must take it seriously.
We commit a lot more. I think that's fair to say. Look, Kavita, at the end of a lot of the episodes, I asked a lot of the guests about their future predictions or things that they see coming from afar in your expertise when it comes to conscious parenting, conscious living, but specifically about conscious community. What do you see happening? And what are you excited for when it comes to Dubai, the UAE, and being a resident here and experiencing living here?
What do I see coming? I think this country, and this city, this emirate in particular, I feel like they're really open. So I see a lot of openness coming. More and more, there's an inclusivity here, which I see the rest of the world going in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
But over here, I feel like things are becoming more and more inclusive, and I see that as a beautiful thing. Inclusive perspectives on every topic, from education to wellness to faith, to businesses, entrepreneurship, to the way people live. I see inclusivity here.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful. So the trend is great, and I feel like it's going to be really a city to contend with the big cities. It's going to be like New York, London, Dubai, wherever else, Shanghai, Mumbai, these places. It's going to be in the top 5 or in, those cities. I really see that happening. It already is, right?
Yeah.
And what are my hopes, Nimi? I just hope that there is a place for every kind of person here, I want a place for the hippies. I want a place for the traditional conservative people. I want people to have any kind of schooling that they want to have, whether it is with technology or without.
Yeah.
Say you're the kind of person who wants to go to a school where there are no iPads. I mean, I would like that to be a reality.
Yeah.
Or if you're the kind of person who wants to go to a school that's really cutthroat, cutting edge and, forward thinking and futuristic, then you choose that. So a place for everyone, a place for every kind of mindset, and also for us to really, one of my biggest passions is, and I told you about this, is to create this ability for us to have organized community. So as I said, in a community, have somebody who moderates that community, who makes it a reality. I would love to see that happen. And that's one of my greatest passions, because you can achieve nothing without people in your corner.
Yeah.
You can achieve nothing without people in your corner. And if those people are the people who live next to you and that you can walk to, wow, that is some real beauty in that.
Yeah.
So I would love to see that happen, for us to become conscious in connecting people, to create that umbrella for people, to come together.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful. And I think it's fair to say that based on that, connection truly is the new luxury. And I think the UAE is truly at the forefront of making people feel like they belong.
Yeah.
And belonging is all we ever want.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah.
Kavita, I want to thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
For
Nimi.
anybody, I'm pretty sure by now you would have convinced anybody who is in any other country that this is the place to be. But I want to thank you once again.
Thank you,
and very grateful. Thank you for sharing your journey and your expertise here.
Thank you. That really flew by.
It really
Thank
did.
you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. In the next episode of Sobha The Living Room, we go beyond bricks and mortar to explore what truly makes a house a home, and why community, connection and belonging are becoming the real currency of value in UAE real estate. We're joined by a trailblazer who is helping redefine what it means to live in the region, not just through property, but through purpose. Can you guess who is joining us next? Hit subscribe on YouTube or follow us on your favorite podcast app. You won't want to miss this one.